good evening, everyone, and welcome to Raceface TV. My name is Rod Wortham. I'm going to be your host tonight. And right now, we're going to go up to Mooresville, North Carolina, to my good friend Tom Baker and his very special guest, truck racer Chase Briscoe. What's going on tonight, Tom?
Hey, good evening, Rod. It's good to be back, and great that you finally got the geography correct after about 15 shows.
That's because there's a big sign taped underneath the camera that says up.
Up. Charlotte, North.
That's right.
Well, it's great to be back with you, and we do have Chase Briscoe, who drives for Brad Keselowski Racing in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And good to have you with us, Chase, and excellent last few races for you. Kind of a shaky start to the season, maybe the first couple shows, but you've really come on strong over the last few races.
Yeah, thanks for having me first off. And yeah, we've definitely had a lot of success here the past couple of weeks, but looking back at our year, we've been running in the top 3 everywhere we go, just haven't been able to quite finish it off and have the results. So to finally be able to put those whole races together, that's what we've been needing to do, and hopefully we can continue on that.
Well, for the folks who are not necessarily familiar with you, talk just for a minute or two about your background in the sport. You're from the Midwest.
Yeah, grew up in Indiana. That's where I grew up racing. I ran sprint cars ever since I was 13, and straight out of high school moved down here and was literally sleeping on couches and just started volunteering at race shops. And I was volunteering at a shop called Cunningham Motorsports in the ARCA series, and they let me start running for them last year, and we ended up winning the championship. And long story short, it's progressed all the way to being signed by Ford Development and now driving for Brad Keselowski.
Rod, you and I talk all the time about what you go through on your way up the racing ladder. And here's an example of a young man who didn't bring a lot of money and ended up sleeping on many friends' couches over the course of the last year or two, just trying to get established here in the South.
Well, the first thing he said was right. He was from the Midwest. There's certain work ethics that come from people from the Midwest. Chase, I'm from the Midwest too, right outside of St. Louis. So, Midwest, big racing communities through there too. And I just got to ask a question to you, Chase. You didn't sleep on Ron Hornaday's couch, did you?
No, that wasn't that one.
Okay, because I've heard so many drivers that have come out to North Carolina and they've ended up at Hornaday's house. He was kind of like a runaway place for drivers that were coming from the West and the Midwest. Show up at Ron's place and you had a place to stay. So, but yeah, I agree with Tom, man. What the last couple of weeks, man, you've been strong, very fast. And what's it like racing for Brad?
Yeah, it's awesome. Brad's one guy I've always looked up to, obviously. I mean, he's a Cup champion and done literally everything there is to do in this sport. So to have that guy in your corner and have his support and just to be able to be at a racetrack and shoot him a text message and just ask for his advice is definitely a big help and a big learning tool for me, and not only me, but also my teammate Austin. So it's definitely a cool race for Brad. It's an honor, and hopefully we can get him his first championship.
Well, I would think you guys have a lot in common because it sounded like you kind of both came up the same way. I mean, Brad didn't have the golden path laid in front of him, too. He basically worked his way up there and really earned it. That's one of the reasons that I'm a big Brad fan, is that he came up through the ranks. I know they did a lot of racing in the ARCA, and I mean, gosh, you were last year's ARCA champion, so that had to be kind of a very high. But was it a surprise that you went from basically just kind of helping out in the shop to the next thing you know, just about a year later, you're the ARCA champion?
Yeah, it's definitely humbling. For me, a lot of people don't know this either, but when I first moved to North Carolina and started volunteering at race shops, I was volunteering at Brian and Bob Keselowski's shop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and they were the first people that kind of opened their doors to me. And I didn't get to meet Brad until just last year after the Chicagoland race. But I don't want to speak for Brad, but I think he does have somewhat of a respect for me just because I don't come from money, and I kind of did go the ARCA route. But yeah, a lot of people don't realize that 2 years ago I was literally just sweeping floors at the Cunningham shop and didn't have anything going. I raced maybe 7 to 10 sprint car races a year and I never even raced pavement. So it's definitely been a lot that's happened over the past year and a half, but definitely in the right place right now.
Well, that's pretty exciting. I mean, that's an amazing success story, and so the golden question is, where do you see yourself? Where are your plans over the next couple of years?
Yeah, obviously would love to be in the Cup Series, but at the same time, you only want to do it if it's in top-notch equipment. Obviously, being aligned with Ford, that opens so many more doors for me now as far as the Xfinity route and even the Cup Series. So it's just one of those deals where I have to see what seats do open up, and I have to keep running up front and win races and hopefully win a championship. I think that's the main reason that Ford and Brad as well took a chance on me, and they've kind of made that pretty clear. They want a championship in the Truck Series, so hopefully we can do that and then just see what happens next year.
Well, I definitely think we definitely know you got the talent. We definitely know you got the speed to be able to do that. So just a question for you. The races that are coming up next, give me an idea where your favorite track is and maybe where the track is that you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish we could skip past that one. Is there one of those that are on the schedule for you?
I mean, I look forward to every race. All year, I think I've only been to Daytona and maybe one other track all year long, and the next 5 tracks I've all been to. So I'm obviously looking forward to that. Last year, Kentucky wasn't too good to me. We got crashed there, but obviously looking forward to Eldora, just being a dirt guy. So if there was one that I had to skip, though, it'd probably be the road course.
Road course. So you're one of the truck racers that are looking forward to going and getting muddy at Eldora.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, last year was really only my first year on pavement, so I'm still, trying to learn this pavement stuff. And people always ask me, what's the track going to do? And I'm like, I have no clue. But when we go to the dirt track, I'll finally know, what the track's going to do. And a lot of these guys aren't going to know that. So it's definitely going to be nice to kind of have the upper advantage for once.
Well, I heard rumors that Stewart was thinking about putting up a bonus for anyone that can hit the wall more than Larson did. Is that something you'd be going after?
I hope not. You never know, though.
That would be a really hard record to break, I think.
Well, yeah, I think it would include probably every lap but 4, maybe.
Yeah, he definitely put on a show a couple of years ago. Not necessarily the type that he wanted to put on, but that's a fun race. And I've got to believe, Chase, as you look at that, it's not obviously a midget or a sprint car, but I have to believe that some of what the feel and kind of the mindset that you have about racing on dirt is going to apply. But I would think with the bigger truck, it's almost the opposite. In the stuff you drive, it was all about the throttle. I would think here it might be about just finesse and hardly touching the throttle.
Yeah, I think, being a sprint car guy, I think you see Larson and Bell, they're obviously successful there when they get in the truck. And, the sprint car has almost 900 horsepower. So there's a lot of nights you're not even over quarter throttle. So I think that does kind of play into our advantage. But actually, just last weekend, I went and ran a dirt late model for the first time. So
oh, wow.
Yeah. So
tell us about that.
Yeah, it's fun. Last weekend, I went to Brownstown, Indiana, and ran a sprint car and a late model. So sprint car, I hadn't ran one of those for 2 years. Kind of struggled a little bit, but late model somehow ended up running 5th. But it was definitely a neat experience, and looking forward to hopefully doing a little bit more of that.
Racers race, Rod. Any chance they get?
Absolutely. Dirt, asphalt, doesn't matter. So one more question. If you had the opportunity, is there a Cup team that you would like to end up on? I mean, is there one that would be on your wish list? I'm sure that Penske would probably be at the top of that list because, I mean, who wouldn't want to race for the captain?
Yeah, I mean, certainly Roger Penske's would be awesome. Hendrick Motorsports obviously would be cool. And then for me, just in general, Tony Stewart's a guy that I've always looked up to, just being a dirt sprint car guy. So running at Stewart Haas would also be a dream. Just any of the, the top Cup teams would obviously be a dream, but obviously the Ford ones right now have a little bit more pull towards me. So any of them, I just want to be in something competitive that can go win races and win championships. And, you're only as good as the car you're in. And right now at Brad's, I'm in really good stuff, which helps. But it doesn't do you any justice to move up to the Cup Series if you're going to run 25th, in my opinion.
Well, Chase,
who else should make this happen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Ford Performance is the big one. And then everybody over at Brad's, we have Cooper Standard on the truck this year. And other than that, there's really not a lot. Just, Ford has really stepped up and really helped and kind of opened up tons of doors for me. In 2 weeks, I get to go run a Mustang at VIR. So that's stuff I never thought would happen. So just to be signed by them is a blessing for sure, and to see what happens.
Well, Chase, we've got a lot of young racers that actually tune into this show. So is there a piece of advice that you could give for that that young racer that's watching now that might be 7 years old to 12, 13 years old, what kind of piece of advice could you give them about just sticking with it, you know, making sure that you keep yourself focused?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to stick to it. And I mean, there's going to be times that doors close, but to me, the biggest thing is just treat everybody like you want to be treated. I don't know how many times, you know, there's might be one crew member that worked on a sprint car 3 years ago that, you know, they might know somebody down here and it ends up opening up a door for you. So you never know who might know who and when you might need one of those people to say something good about you. So I just try to treat everybody really like I want to be treated. And that's honestly probably the main reason I even got the ARCA ride last year. So I just got to keep doing that and try to just be nice to everybody. Like I said, you never know who might be the reason you do or don't get in a race car.
Well, there you heard it. Chase, I want to make one deal with you. If you win the truck championship, will you come back on the show towards the end of the year?
Yeah, heck yeah. I hope I am back.
All right. Well, everybody, there you heard it. I think he's going to be a candidate for the truck championship this year. Running for Brad Keselowski Racing, fast trucks, great driver. It's about time for us to take a commercial break, so we're going to take a quick break and we're going to be right back. Welcome to Raceface Brand Development. You might be asking, what is Raceface Brand Development? We are all about helping young drivers get noticed while creating a brand. If your branding isn't part of your strategy and you're looking for a competitive advantage in the marketplace, I encourage you to reach out to us at Raceface Brand Development and let us provide you a free consultation on how we can help further your driver's career.
81% of consumers search online before even setting foot in a store. We help you create a strong foundation for your digital reputation. We help build your online presence to improve search engine rank and make sure your business information is correct across the web. You could do all of this on your own, but why would you spend more than 300 hours a year working on this? You have a business to run. Save time and put our software to work for you.
We have a simple mission: build champions. And we do this by offering you the opportunity to learn from some of the top individuals in the motorsports industry. And parents, this course is not just for young drivers, but for you as well. Our 8-week online course will cover marketing and branding, how to build a fan base, how to use social media effectively, how to master the media, and much, much more. So if you are looking for a competitive advantage, then Raceface University is for you. We look forward to making you one of our future champions. Well, welcome back, everybody. We've got a great show going on tonight. Usually we have it in 2 segments, but you know we're talking up to Mooresville, North Carolina, to Tom Baker and Chase Briscoe. So we just kind of decided to expand that second thing. So Tom, what's up next for you? Let's talk to get Chase a little bit more involved. I know that during this segment a little bit we're going to highlight just a little bit about Raceface University and what we're going to be doing there for a lot of the young drivers. But Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you for a few minutes.
Well, I want to talk with Chase a little bit more about kind of coming up through the ranks and what it was like for you to do that. I mean, you raced basically for your family team in the beginning of your career. At what point, first of all, did you decide that you were going to come south? What got you motivated to make that break and try to come south and make it on the pavement?
Yeah, like you said, I drove for my family ever since I started racing sprint cars, and once I got a little bit older, I started going to other teams. But yeah, I really didn't think I'd ever have a shot to come south, and I was literally scrolling through Facebook one day and saw this thing called the Peak Stock Car Challenge and just entered it and went out on a limb. I didn't even follow the rules or anything, and I somehow got picked. But and that was what gave me the opportunity to even try driving a stock car, and I did that, and I enjoyed doing it. And Ty Norris at the time was with MWR, and he was like, hey, if you want to make a living doing this, you need to move down here. And so I finished school for about another month and then graduated and moved down here and started sleeping on couches and going and helping guys at shops. And but yeah, I mean, I honestly didn't think I'd ever have an opportunity to even drive a stock car, and then that's kind of what started this whole thing.
So the stock car challenge was kind of that spark for you. Entered that, and then I think you did. If I remember, you were in the top 3 or 4 in that, right?
Yeah, I was I think second. I couldn't talk. We had to do like a teleprompter and everything else, and at the time I was so green on everything, I had no clue what I was doing. So that's obviously a big part of racing nowadays, is how you can talk and interact with media and sponsors alike. So that's one thing I didn't have at the time, and obviously now, so not the greatest at it, but obviously with repetitions, it's definitely been easier.
So once you got down here, how did you just start walking into shops randomly, or did you have a few connections that you started with? How did it work for you that you kind of got up to the point where you found Cunningham and then ended up in their car?
Yeah, so I didn't know but maybe 2 people when I moved down here, and one of them was Brian Keselowski because he was at the Peak thing, and so I just started going there and helping him, and through him I'd meet a couple people, and then really good friends with Christopher Bell, and he had a contract offer from a team, and I knew he was going to turn it down because he was with Toyota at the time. So I went and met with him, just walked in the door, and I was like, hey, who do I need to talk to? And somehow got a meeting with him the next week and just explained my situation, and that me and Bill were going to be teammates in a dirt race coming up, and just to see what happened. And I ended up winning the race that next weekend.
Wow, that helps.
Yeah, and Bill ran second, and then I was literally moving back to Indiana. I was done down here. I didn't have anything going. I was just over it. And as I was driving back to Indiana, I remember the co-owner of Cunningham Motorsports had called me and was like, hey, I heard about you from this team. And then another guy had said your name. He goes, would you be interested in coming and testing our cars? So I drove back down that following day, and then met there at Cunningham Motorsports. And just before I walked out of the door, I said, I don't know anything about stock cars, but I'm more than willing to just volunteer my time if that helps. And then they ended up testing me, and I guess I showed enough speed at the test that they put me in a car for 2 races, and we did that. And I think at the end of 2015, and in the off season, Briggs Cunningham, the actual owner of the team, had me come to his house in Kentucky, and I just asked what I wanted to do for them the next year. And he had never won a championship in, I think it was 25 years. So I just told him, I was like, I'd love to win your first championship, kind of joking around, but whether you'd run me in 10 races, 5, 2, or none, I just appreciate everything he did for me. And literally called me 2 days later and said, let's run for the championship.
There you go, Rod. Run for the championship, and it pays off by winning it. That's a great way to do things.
Well, for all the young drivers that are watching out there, I want you to hear that story, and I want you to hear how he stayed humble. And I think that's a key. And you learn the other little things there that you need to learn how to be able to present yourself to the sponsors and everything. And Tom, that's a little bit about what Raceface University is all about.
Yes,
now,
sir.
We've actually moved the start date back to July the 15th, just because of all the racing that's going on this weekend and then through July 4th. And we had a lot of the kids that were calling up and saying, wow, it looks like I'm going to miss the first week. Maybe I'll wait till August. So we just took that opportunity to go ahead and actually move the start date to July 15th. So what we want you to do, if you're interested in becoming a part of Raceface University, just go to racefaceuniversity.com. You can see it right here on the screen below me, racefaceuniversity.com. You can either click the button to get more information, or you can go ahead and get enrolled. But we guarantee you, you'll be well worth your money. A lot of information, over 100 years of experience between myself, Tom, and Lauren Rainier. And Tom's got like 80 years, so me and Lauren's just got a little bit. No, just kidding, Tom. But we'd really like for you guys to go check that out. So Chase, do you have any sponsors you want to plug, or tell us about any of your social media platforms you want people to go like your Facebook page? And I was on your Facebook page a while ago. You got 2. I saw Chase Briscoe and Chase Briscoe Racing. So if you want to be able to share that with him, we'll make sure we get that up on the screen. Maybe we can get you a couple more hundred likes to your page.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, social media is a big part of what we do now, and is at Chase Briscoe Racing, and we have a guy, Toby Wedgwood, who does a great job of keeping that up. So thanks to him for doing that. And then I'm on Twitter at Chase Briscoe 5, and we have ChaseBriscoe.com as well. But yeah, just Ford Performance can't preach it enough. They've opened up so many more doors for me than I ever thought would be imaginable. So thanks to them, and then obviously for Brad taking a chance on me, and Cooper Standard for coming on board with Brad again.
So tell us a little bit about this. You said you got something coming up where you're going to be driving a Mustang. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like I said, I wouldn't mind skipping the road course race, and that's because I've only done it one time. And so I've just been talking to Ford, and they said, well, let's just put you in a Mustang, a VIR, and see what you can do. So they're going to send me down there with Billy Johnson, who drives their Ford GT.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'll have one of the best teachers there is. So no pressure there or anything, but we're going to do that. I think it's in 2 weeks. So I've never seen the place before, but I'm sure they're going to get me on the simulator here next week, and we can go from there and see how that goes.
So let me ask you a question. This is. I'm glad you brought that up about the simulator. I'm sure you get a lot of opportunities to get on the simulators. Once you move from the simulator to the actual track, how real is it? How real is that simulator compared to what you actually feel when you get out there on the track?
Yeah, there's definitely some places that benefit you more than others. You know, a lot of people obviously don't have access to the Ford simulators, so iRacing is one thing that I think has really changed the sport in general. I race quite a bit. I have a company that's came on board with me this year called R-Laps. It's actually a mobile simulator that has motion and virtual reality and everything, and that's really helped the learning curve as far as a lot of tracks. So Iowa is probably the most beneficial, I think, just because it's so bumpy. You can really get to know the track really well there before you go there. But yeah, virtual reality and just simulators and everything now have changed, I think, the sport in general. And we see so many younger guys now have such a quicker learning curve than I think you used to. So, and I think a lot of the guys, you know, that are good now, a lot of the younger guys anyways, race online all the time, and they're just constantly keeping their racecraft up. So I think that's something that's very big for kids, you know, trying to come up through the ranks, and even if you're already established.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. I mean, think about how much money that we would have saved in the sport, you know, 10, 15 years ago, where we didn't have to go test at every single track that you went to have any clue about what you were going to be, you know, feeling once that vehicle actually rolled off the truck. So I would think that the simulators are a big part, and I guess the 5-post shakers and different things like that, letting the crew chiefs getting the vehicle set up has to be a big advantage.
Yeah, for sure. You know, we literally every week we'll go to the Ford simulator and we'll run through an entire practice and an entire race as far as adjustments go. And, you know, we can know before we even go to the racetrack if a certain change is going to work or if a certain setup's going to work. So, you know, that really changes how we, you know, plan our practice plans. So it's definitely changed how we do it. I know a lot of people don't have the extent of simulator time that we get with us being the only Ford truck team. And I think that certainly helps us.
Let me ask you, when you're not racing, what does Chase Briscoe like to do? What's your hobbies?
Man, I know everybody always says it, but I honestly don't do a lot outside of racing. One thing I do, I watch that show Shark Tank a lot. I don't know if you've heard of that. I watch that literally every night for probably 2 to 3 hours. And I started working out this year for it. I had to put me on a plan. So I'm slowly getting more involved in that and kind of enjoying that a little bit more. But obviously, that's a big key of today's racing. But honestly, I don't do a whole lot out of racing. I enjoy going to Mexican restaurants and eating. I do a lot of that about 3 to 4 times a week. But that's about it, honestly.
Well, I could tell you this. I could see it already. I could see Chase going in to negotiate his first cup deal and drawing from all of that information and the stuff that he learned from Shark Tank. That'd be kind of cool.
Or a big Mexican restaurant chain sponsor for
Absolutely.
him in the Cup
Taco
Series.
Bell, are you watching?
Yeah, I love me some Mexican food. There's no doubt about that.
All right. Well, Chase, I want to thank you for being on the show with us tonight. Tom, thank you as always.
Thank
Chase,
you.
we're going to hold it to you. So, Tom, I'm going to go ahead and actually book the date towards the end of the year that we could actually say that we've got the 2017 truck champion coming back on the show. So Chase, good luck to you. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, and good luck to you with the rest of the season.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully I'll be talking to you guys early December.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, everybody, what a great show we had tonight. Tom, as always, thank you. Again, we want to remind you to go to Raceface on Raceface TV on our Facebook page. And here's one big thing that we have changed. You may or may not be watching on racefacetv.com. If you're watching on mnotv.com, make sure that next week you tune in to racefacetv.com. We got a brand new watch page for this particular show. Again, Raceface University, we're going to enrollment between now and July the 15th. So you've got about 17 days to get enrolled for that. You're going to want to go check that out. There's a lot of information on racefacuniversity.com. Go check that out, and make sure to join us right back here next week for Raceface TV on racefacetv.com. Go out, support your local tracks, and we'll see you back here next week.